Brand new rhyme is 12 noon. Head up. Okay, that's what time it is today. So here we are again. This feels like a Monday because I missed Monday yesterday, which is part of my story today. Today, what I'd like to talk about is time. Yes, time, time. Do you have the time to spend with me today? It's my question. And as I'm doing this, I would like you to help me. And here's how I would like you to help. I would like you to count how many times I say time. Okay, just as we're going through this, just listen up. Count how many times do I say time. So we've been here on lockdown for what we say since March 12th, thereabouts. March 11th, March 12th, so quite a while now, over a month. And during that entire time, the longer we go, the more I miss my children. I miss all the children in the schools. We used to have such a good time, even though sometimes they could be a pain in the behind. But in general, we had a good time. I enjoyed being with the children. Their energy, their verve, they're just a delight when they're not being a pain. And each day I'm in school, there are lessons that are laid out for me, and there's typically there would be a lesson plan of some sort or another. But being as how I'm a guest teacher, I know that sometimes a teacher may have to leave in a hurry. They may get sick, they might get ill, they might have an emergency at home with one of their children, whatever. So they could leave at any time, and they may or may not leave a lesson plan. So, but hopefully at least they'll have a schedule, maybe to be written on the board on a separate sheet of paper that will say, well, at this time, we're supposed to do, we should be doing X, and this time we should do Y. And included within that time will be special, usually, hopefully. We always like, all teachers love specials, which is where they get to go and they get to go to gym, or they go to the art, they go take art, or they go to music. There's different specials. So having that schedule is a good thing. And you go to school every day, you know what time you need to wake up, you know how much time it takes to get from point A to point B. You know how much time you're going to spend when you get to the school. But on these days when I may not have a full lesson plan, or even on a day when I do, sometimes I slip in some other lessons that are not necessarily on the schedule for the day, because there's more to learn in school than just what has been laid out. There are lots of things that children need to be exposed to and learn. And so some of the times, most recently, I have spoken to them about time and how time doesn't really exist. It's a concept, a precept, an idea, a thing, an invention. That time is really an invention. It's man-made. It's something that we came up with. Okay? Now, you have never seen, if you go outside, just look outside your window, you'll never see a squirrel outside looking at his wrist, talking about, what time is it? I told Shirley I was going to be here at a certain time, and she ain't here yet. Where is Shirley? I know she's getting squirrely. She's supposed to be here, but she's somewhere over there. Never see that happen, because squirrels don't worry about time. The dogs ain't worried about time. Your cat's not worried about time. So what do the dogs and the cats do with all that time that they have at your house when you're at work? What do they do with all that time? See, that's something you have to think about, because now you and I are like those squirrels. We're like that dog, that cat that gets left behind with nothing but time and very little to do with that time other than allow our time to be wasted watching the boob tube repeatedly and incessantly go over the numbers of people that have died from this virus and the number of people that they say have the virus, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, none of which we know is actually real. We don't know how much of it is real and how much of it is fake. Some of it is real and some of it's not, but we don't know to what extent. So time. Well, the other day I told a story, a very important story, the story of John Henry. And tonight at 7 p.m., I'm going to hold a watch party right here on YouTube, right here on Facebook. I'm going to hold do an extra edition for the edition I missed yesterday. And this one is going to be on, it's going to be a watch party for John Henry. So we're going to, everybody just tune in. I'll post it up here, the watch party, and you'll be able to come and participate in the watch party. And we're going to watch my finished production of what I did live the other day on John Henry. So you can just see how I'm envisioning some of these videos being utilized that we've been producing here. Now, we're back to the idea of time. So the story of John Henry is tied into the railroads. And the railroads have a lot to do with time. Some of you may have heard that right now there's been some debate as to whether or not we should continue to have daylight savings time. Well, that's been a debate for some amount of years. In some parts of the country, they do not have daylight savings time. Like the whole state of Arizona, there is no daylight savings time. So when you go to the state of Arizona, it's like you just stepped into a time warp because they're on a whole different time than the entire rest of the country. That's right. It's like it's a zone. They're in their own zone. And so apparently that's something that they decided to do just within the boundaries of that one state. They decided to do that. So now the United States itself is looking at abolishing this daylight savings time. I don't know exactly why, what the arguments are, et cetera. You'd have to go and look that up. But they have some argument about time and how daylight savings time is wasting our time. Like I said, time is a concept. Now, how did it get started? I said it had to do with John Henry. It has to do with the railroads. And it has to do with how fast people have been moving. Prior to the railroad age, the age of the commercial railroad, which occurred almost right around the same time as the Civil War. Actually, it started before the Civil War and continued on after the Civil War. And it had to do with the trains and how fast these trains were going, and particularly with that transcontinental railway. Because when they were when the majority of the train lines, they started off on the East Coast. When the majority of the train lines were running north and south, they didn't have a problem with time. It wasn't until they started going long distances from east to west that they began to have a problem with time, because the trains were running so fast that you could leave one place and get to another place, and there would be like a time differential. And they had to account for that because the railroads had to run on a schedule. They had to have a schedule. You had to be able to let people know the train will be here at 9 o'clock. What time is it right now? It's 5 minutes to 9. Okay, I can go do X and be back here in 5 minutes. The train will be here. That was the problem. And so it's intimately tied into this whole idea of traveling back and forth at a very rapid pace. The idea of time. And that's why they came up with the time zones, and that when you're over here, you're in one time zone, you go a little further, you're in a different time zone, and it keeps going all the way around the whole world, all the way from Greenwich Mean Time at Greenwich, England, all the way around the world and back to Greenwich again. There are time zones that are set up all over the world because after a while, it wasn't just the trains that were traveling so fast. It was the airplanes. Airplanes just made it even more incumbent upon us to establish these time zones. Now, as I've been doing this particular, as I do all of my pieces, I am concerned about time because I don't want to go over my amount of time because YouTube has restrictions on how much time I can actually do these pieces, for one thing. And for two, you lose your attention span is only so long. So you can see right here, this is a little device I keep with me. I use this when I'm in school, and I even use it here as well. It's a very handy device. It's just a little kitchen timer. And when I'm in school, oftentimes I wear this around my neck. Yeah, like Flavor Flav or something, right? And the children always ask me, what's that for, Mr. Kemet? Mr. Kemet, what's that for? That's my other name right now. You know, for the purposes of these videos, I go by my nom de guerre, Doc Ock. But in school, they call me Mr. Kemet. So I have this little device. And as we're going through the day, the teacher said, hey, it's supposed to take so many minutes to do X, Y, and Z. 25 minutes, boom. I set my timer, 25 minutes. Child's got to go to the drinking fountain or the bathroom. I set the timer, 2 minutes, boom. And that just reminds me to look for that child at the end of 2 minutes so I don't miss anybody. I don't lose anybody along the way because they'll get lost going to the bathroom. Trust and believe that'll happen. So again, time and the whole idea of time. So what I want you all to think about until the next time we meet, right here again at 12 o'clock noon. Don't forget to subscribe below or to become a member of the Center of Pan-African Culture where you can keep up with me. I want you to think about time and the idea of time, because time is not only is it a concept, but it's a very interesting invention. It's a very interesting thing because it's one of the few things you can't make more of. People talk about it that way. We say, oh, I'm going to make more time to do this, that, or the other thing. You can't make more time unless you start playing with the clock and moving up the arms on the clock, etc. Now, you could make more time that way, but nobody else would recognize it outside of you and your little world that you're living in. So how does that work? How would that actually work out? So as you're at home and you're spending your time at home, I want you to think about how you best want to use this time, because this time is going to go on at least probably through the end of April and possibly through the end of May, that we're going to be at home on lockdown. So all of you have lots and lots and lots of time to think about this. Now, the last thing I'm going to say today, here's what I want y'all to do. You're at work, you're at home, but you're working right now. You're taking your little break, your lunchtime break. What I want you to do when I get done with this video, I want you to turn off all your electronic devices. All your electronic devices. And just sit in total silence for 3 minutes. Take a 3-minute break from the world. Turn off all your electronic devices and just take a break. And what I want you to do with that time is I want you to listen to the silence. This is another lesson that I've used in school, elementary school even. Okay, I told the children before I left, before we ended school, that this is what I wanted them to do. To just go home, sit in their bedroom, turn off everything electronic in their room, and just sit in their room for like 3 to 5 minutes. I think I told them 5, but I'm just starting you out. So you just do 3 minutes to be fine. And just take a break and listen to the silence, because it's something most of us don't take time to do. We never spend any time with ourselves. And we need to spend this is the perfect time now to spend some time with ourselves. So if you've been listening out there, I haven't seen anybody wave to me today. Go ahead and let me know how many times did I say the word time in this whole piece? I guarantee it was quite a few, because most of the times we don't track how many times we say time. All right. And with that, our time is ended. So I hope it's been really splendid, even though we had to end it. We'll see you again with a great big grin from our ear to our chin. And remember, let the force be with you. Peace out.